The Candyman Mystery, written by Rabbi Kerry Olitzky, illustrations by Christina Mattison Ebert. This will be published in September of 2021. So I think that will be its copyright. Yes, Casey Tracy. We were sent this by some folks we know. It's published by Kalaniot Books, The Candyman Mystery. When the Stein family arrived early at the synagogue on Shabbat, their last name is Stein, just like you have a last name and I have a last name. When the Stein family arrived early at the synagogue on Shabbat, Josh ran toward the sanctuary door. As he was about to crash noisily through, his older sister Becky stopped him. "Whoa, slow down, Speedy," she whispered.
Who's Speedy?
She's calling him Speedy as a nickname, because he's moving kind of fast. "But I've got to get a seat near the Candyman," Josh insisted, although Josh already had quite a collection of candy in his pockets. He could always use a few more choice pieces. The Candyman at Congregation Shalom was quite a celebrity. He could often be found surrounded by kids, his pockets bulging with the candy he would hand out after services. It wasn't just the candy that made him so popular, though. The Candyman's silly jokes were legendary. He told them in his Russian-accented English, and when he made a mistake in English, the kids kindly corrected him, helping him to learn. In exchange, he taught them a few words in Russian. Josh thought it was a great exchange. Candy for language lessons.
What is he from?
Evidently, yes, the Candyman immigrated from Russia, so he learned the Russian language first. And his English sounds a little bit like that Russian. The adults at the synagogue knew the Candyman as Mr. Sharansky, the kind man who was always ready to help build the sukkah, lend a hand in the kitchen, or help his sister in the synagogue gift shop. Everyone loved the Candyman. But today there was no crowd of giggling kids, and the Candyman was nowhere to be found. Josh and Becky walked up and down the row of seats, searching the entire sanctuary. Where could he be? Wondered Becky. From down the hall, they could hear Cantor Cohen warming up. "Come on," said Josh, and he was off at a run. Slow down, Speedy," said Becky once again, trying to catch up with her brother as he barged into the Cantor's office.
Who's this?
"That's the Cantor Cohen." "Have you seen Mr. Sharansky?" Josh asked. "No, I haven't seen him," replied the surprised Cantor. "Thank you, and sorry to interrupt," Becky apologized. As they headed for the door, Becky stopped and turned back to the Cantor. "That sounds a lot like my favorite song, Adon Olam, but the tune sounds different." "Yes, it's a Russian melody for Adon Olam. As a matter of fact, Mr. Sharansky taught it to me when he first came to our community. Would you like to hear it?" "Sure," said Becky, trying to ignore Josh, impatiently pulling her arm to leave. As soon as they had sung the last note, Josh was off again. Becky ran to catch up to her brother, who was peering through the door of the chapel. Inside, kids of all ages had gathered for junior congregation. "Are they dancing?" wondered Becky. "No, they're waving at us," said Josh, and immediately opened the door, interrupting Judy Kaplan, the teen leader. "Have you seen Mr. Sharansky?" Josh blurted out.
Why are you doing this one?
"Because we're doing it." But Jody hadn't seen him either. She mentioned that some of the children were asking for him. Everyone loves when the candy man comes in to read a book aloud at our service. The littlest ones race to get a seat near him. And of course, who doesn't love his candy? On their way out, the kids hesitated. "What were you doing with your hands?" Josh asked. "I am using American Sign Language to say the Shema. My mother is deaf. She taught me to sign this important prayer," Jody explained. "I'll show you the signs."
American
You took sign language in high school.
Did it?
As the kids left the chapel, they heard Mr. Schwartz's unmistakable voice coming from the social hall. "Aha!" said Josh. "Mr. Schwartz is Mr. Sharansky's good friend. He'll know where to find him." When the kids entered, they found the crew sitting at the table and drinking coffee as usual. The crew was a group of older men who loved nothing better than to discuss politics, complain about the weather, or argue about whether Sandy Koufax or Hank Greenberg was the best Jewish baseball player of all time. Josh ran right up to them. "Have you seen Mr. Sharansky?" But we will pick it up when we're done. But no one had. We were wondering where he was. Mr. Sharansky has never missed a Shabbat service, ever. Even during last year's big snowstorm he made it in, said Mr. Schwartz. "I hope he's okay." As the kids left the social hall, Josh paused. "Becky, will we ever find the candy man after I'm done?" "Don't worry, Josh. I know just who to ask." Becky took Josh's hand and headed toward Rabbi Suskin's office. Just as the rabbi was putting on his talit, the kid stopped him. "Rabbi, have you seen Mr. Sharansky?" Quietly, the rabbi replied, "Mr. Sharansky became ill last night, and his sister took him to the hospital. From what I am hearing, he'll be just fine." With that, he hugged them both close and whispered, "Sei gesund," explaining that this Yiddish blessing meant, "Be healthy." Becky and Josh repeated the strange words to themselves. They had heard Mr. Sharansky say, "Sei gesund," but they never realized it was a blessing. Becky and Josh followed Rabbi Susskind, yes, honey, into the sanctuary and found their parents. "Where have you two been hiding?" their dad asked. "We were looking for Mr. Sharansky, but we found out that he's in the hospital," Josh said sadly. "I'm so sorry to hear that. I guess there will be no candy this Shabbat," said their mom. "But I have an idea. Why don't we go visit him in the hospital after service? Now, settle down. The cantor is just about to start." At the hospital, the Steins found Mr. Sharansky with his sister. When Josh saw the candy man, he rushed to give him a big hug. "Whoa, be careful," said Becky, trying to slow Josh down yet again. She smiled and reached over to gently take Mr. Sharansky's hand. "We missed you at synagogue today, Mr. Sharansky. We know you've never missed a Shabbat service, so we decided to bring one to you." Then the kids signed the Shema and sang Adon Olam. As they were about to leave, Josh reached into his front pocket and pulled out the prized jawbreaker he had been saving. He handed it to Mr. Sharansky and said, "I hope this sweetens your day, just as you sweeten ours each Shabbat." The candy man had tears in his eyes. "Thank you. The happiness and peace of Shabbat mean even more when shared. Sei gesund. Good health to you all." And in the back there is the Shema, the words to the Shema, a glossary, and how to sign the Shema in sign language. When you buy your own copy, you can read that part too and learn how to do that. This has been the Candyman Mystery, and I'm Rachel's mom. Thank you for listening.